Hey guys, it's Brad. Today I wanted to talk about the top 10 strategies I had when growing my practice and take it to the next level. And the last one is going to be one that a lot of people overlook and something that I think you guys could really benefit from focusing on if you already have a well-established practice. Let's get into it. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm a primary care doctor. I own my own practice, 3 locations, 7 different providers that we have. And it's been awesome to grow the practice, to grow my own business. There are some key lessons though that I learned as I continue to grow my business. The first lesson that I learned is that you gotta think like a business person. In residency and med school, we're constantly drilled in that we have this almost ethical obligation to treat the patient right in every single way. And marrying that with the fact that you need to run a business, you need to pay the lights, your rent, you need to pay all these other things. And I think for a lot of people, it feels weird trying to collect copays from people or trying to collect money, is that you're trying to be greedy in some form or fashion. You have to keep the lights on and you have to have a way to make sure that you're thinking like a business person. You can still provide amazing care. You can still put the patient first, but you still need to keep the lights on. You got to pay your MA salary. And you got to think about what is high value worth your time as a business person and low value not worth your time. There's going to be a lot of drug reps and other things that are going to come in and try to eat up your time. You only have 9 hours in a day, 8 to 5, assuming you're working 8 to 5, where you can have high value business decisions, whether it be seeing patients, growing your practice, or doing administrative tasks. And you need to not have distractions in your life while you're trying to grow that business. These low value things where they're coming in and they want, the leeches. You need to get rid of those leeches. You need to get them out of your life and you need to focus on how can I grow my practice and where am I going to take those next business steps forward so that I can continue growing my practice. Along with that, the second thing is you got to create systems. The reason why it went from 1 to 3 locations in 6 years is well, the first reason is that the pandemic happened. That was a disaster starting right before the pandemic happened. But the big reason beyond that was that I didn't want to scale until I had systems in place. Could you imagine as you scale and as you grow, you bring in another provider, whether it be an NP, PA, or another doctor, if your systems suck, you're going to notice 3, 4x amount of times of headaches that you have with your system if your systems are not great. So I created a system for everything. I had protocols for everything. And I tried to have this mix of great protocols with some flexibility and allowing autonomy of staff. So that way they didn't feel hindered, like both hands were behind their back. They could do the job that I paid them to do. We could grow the business, but we had systems in place for what's going to happen if there's an angry patient. What's going to happen if a patient falls down and breaks their leg in the clinic? What's going to happen if a patient has a severe allergic reaction and we give them a flu shot? Create systems so you can continue growing your practice. Every business, whether you own a hot dog stand or a doctor's office, you have to have protocols in place so that you can deal with angry customers. What do you do when someone has a fake check that they're giving to you, or that they do a chargeback on their credit card insurance information? Like, you've got to have these protocols in place so that as you grow, you're not getting surprised over and over again. And you can say, oh, okay, they did a credit card chargeback. Here's our protocol. Boom, it's going to be done. That's the next step forward. The next thing going forward is building your brand. I think the biggest mistake that I see a lot of physicians or business people make whenever they're starting their own practice is that you think you are your brand. And that could be true if you're a plastic surgeon and you want people to just come to you because you're the only one that could do the best nose job in the world. Fine. Look, I don't prescribe azithromycin for community-acquired pneumonia better than any Joe Schmo wherever they're at in the world. I want people to come to my brand. And if I could go back in time, I would have hired someone to say, you know what, I'm not a designer. Can you help me design colors and a brand profile? What logos and fonts are we going to use? I would have had a branding strategy and I would have had a way to basically have a brand identity so that people aren't just coming to Dr. Brad. You want people to come to your brand and not, I'm coming to Dr. Brad, because eventually you want to take a step back and run it like a business and not have to see 120 patients every single week. All right, the next thing, know your numbers. I love all you guys out there, but how many business people don't know their freaking numbers is astonishing. What is your customer acquisition cost, your CAC? What is the average income per visit? How many people are actually paying their copays? What is your missed copay rate when they're walking through the door? How much business are you giving away for free? You need to know your numbers like the back of your hand. If you ever watch Shark Tank, I love watching Shark Tank. And the one thing that they hound on every entrepreneur, again, whether you own a hot dog stand or you own a medical practice, if you don't know your numbers, the business is most likely not going to do well. You have to constantly stay on your numbers. You got to know them, have those metrics that I mentioned, and go from there. Create your metrics, know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you're blind and you're wasting a lot of money, or you're leaving a lot of money on the table. All right, the next thing is grow your team. I think a lot of physicians or business people, type A people, have a lot of trouble letting go. You got to grow an amazing team. You don't grow it too fast. You got to be lean in the beginning, but once you have some profits, you need to grow your team, have amazing talent, and you got to fire early. If they're not a good fit, which I've talked about in previous videos, you got to let them go and you got to move on to someone else. The next tip is you got to reinvest profits. There are 3 stages of any business. There's the growth phase, there's the plateau phase or the mature phase, and then there's the stagnation or death phase. I want to constantly be in the growth phase. And part of that growth phase is you got to reinvest profits back into your practice. And we invest a lot of our profits back into growth. This year alone, I'm going to spend over $1 million reinvesting profits into growing my practice. That could have been distributions to me and my partner, but instead we decided to put that towards future growth and hopefully more income in the future. Along with that is you've got to learn to market into new areas. When I started out, I just stuck to ZocDoc, which was a disaster, and then Google ads and Facebook ads. That's fine, but now we started print ads. That's bringing us some new business, some 65 and up business that we didn't get previously. We're about to start advertising on TV. You know, we're even starting to get on Instagram and maybe advertise a little bit that way and through brand partnerships with other groups in town and doing co-sponsored posts. You have to continue to dabble in new areas. Sometimes it's not going to pay off, but other times maybe it will. Like I previously mentioned, I went to this interventional cardiologist that was stenting people in the hospital. Turned out to be one of the best referral sources I have because some of these people have heart attacks. They've been diabetic for 10 years, didn't realize it. And he says, look, I'll treat your heart problems, but my God, you need a primary care doctor. Go to this guy or go to his group. It's been an amazing source of referrals. And if I never would have went to that interventional cardiologist, I would have missed out on hundreds of referrals from a great doc. And you never know. You got to keep trying to market on new avenues. The next thing is focus on automation. In the very beginning, I was sending out emails asking for reviews one by one of patients that had a good interaction with me, thinking that's how I'm going to build it. You can't do that. That's not scalable. As you grow, you got to think, how can I scale this and how can I continue growing my business? You want automation, automated reviews, automated reminders. If you're not automating your patient reminders, you're going to have lots of no-shows. You need to think, what can my EMR automate? And go from there. For us, we even automate appointment reminders. For example, if you got your annual exam, you haven't been back in a year, automatically get a text message, it's been a year. Hey, maybe consider booking an appointment or follow up with us. The next one is optimize for more profitable offerings. We have a United Healthcare plan that is a disaster. It doesn't pay us very well at all. We basically shuffle those to the PAs. You're not going to see a doctor seeing that unless it's a severe problem. And you can hate on me for saying that, but look, when that plan pays us 50% what Medicare is going to pay us, I think we're doing a service just giving people care because most people, 90% of clinics don't even take this United Healthcare plan in town. And it's got to make sense. I can't pay a doctor's salary on 50% Medicare. I'm sorry, you're going to have to see a PA. With that, I optimize for more profitable offerings, more of the minor surgical procedures, or more of the transition of care visits. Someone was in the hospital, needs to be followed up as an outpatient. They have lots of stuff going on. That pays better, those are more profitable, you need to get those in. We make more money off of them and we focus on the more profitable things. For example, cash pay services, we've been ramping it up big time. 2 years ago it was basically zero. Last year I think we did $20,000. This year we're well over $100,000 in cash pay services. And the final one is customer retention strategies. This one I feel like a lot of people really miss out on. There are so many people that need to follow up with you that you're not capturing. I can guarantee you that what we started doing for our practice is when we get an email or a message from the hospital or maybe even a pharmacy somewhere, we get a message from them that so-and-so needs their medication refilled. They're already a customer. They know how to book with us. They know how to get to us. The likelihood of them coming back is quite high. They may not have an appointment on the schedule. So I have trained my staff to say, all right, here's the algorithm. They can get a 30-day supply, call them and say, hey, we noticed that your pharmacy requested a 30-day refill. We're going to put that 30 days in, but would you like to book a follow-up because that's the last one, otherwise we're not refilling it ever again. I didn't have to market for that patient. I didn't have to have a customer acquisition cost for that. They're already a customer of ours. This is something that a lot of practices don't do. They search out for new patients, new avenues, and that's fine, but you're just letting the old ones go and you're not trying to refocus on customer retention. How many of these medication refills are you not calling to get medication follow-ups for them? How many times are you getting a consultant notes as a primary care maybe that they had a knee replacement that you're not calling for a follow-up? Any of this stuff, if you haven't seen them in the last year, we still message them. Hey, we're listed as your primary care. It's been more than a year. Are you going to come see us? We would love to see you. You would be surprised how many of those turn into visits. Over 80% of them turn into visits. They love us. They're going to come back. Sure, 10% don't answer the phone and 10% say, I moved. Or maybe, 5% of that 10% say, I didn't like you guys. I found another primary care somewhere. Fine, great. I'm glad you have somewhere else. We automate, like I previously mentioned. It's been a year since you've seen us. You need to come see us again. We're now starting to do more newsletters about ways to come in. You need to market to your own patient base because you've already acquired them. Your customer acquisition costs are there. Now you need to focus on transitioning them to lifetime value of what is the lifetime value of that patient over time. Another number that you guys should potentially be knowing over years of your practice. What's the lifetime value of that patient? How much are they bringing into your practice over time? These are all ways that I took it from a small business to about $4 million in income this year. Those are ways you got to scale. And whether you own a hot dog stand or this, you need to focus on customer acquisition, your numbers, and also retaining those customers you already have. If you bought a bib for your baby online, I guarantee you that you're getting marketing emails 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later trying to retain those customers. And the amount of people that I see that don't retain customers, it's like 90% of physicians. It's something that no one focuses on. It's something that most physicians say they just don't have time for because they're overwhelmed with other things. And I get it, you are overwhelmed with those things, but know your numbers, build your brand, get them to follow up with you, and get back those customers that you already had. So that way you can focus on more profitable offerings, automate the heck out of this group, and you can get those customer retention so the lifetime value of that customer goes through the roof. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed this one. See you guys next time.